I'm in the big leagues, told her don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston, ayy, feeling like Whitney. I need a bag, bruh, send it through quickly.
What is up, football fans, UFL fans, but most importantly, Houston Roughnecks fans? Welcome to episode 15. Actually, let me get this up. Let me make sure I know what episode it is. Episode 14 of Roughnecks Rundown. It's the third episode of being Roughnecks branded. You guys have embraced it. I've embraced it. I have the hat over here. I got to have the gambler's hat. I love it. And this is a very special episode. This is my first episode interviewing a now Roughnecks player. Everybody, please welcome Elijah Rodgers, former Indiana Gardner-Webb Clemson cornerback. I am so excited to talk to him. Elijah, how you doing, man?
Great, bro. How you?
Dude, I am fantastic. I have taken so long off of doing interviews. The last one I did was Richard Bowens III, another corner, who I'm sure you've talked to in your group chats and stuff. That was like 3 months ago, maybe. It was well before the merger was announced, all that stuff. So I've just been talking to myself in a camera. So it's kind of cool to have someone, talking back. It's not just me with a slideshow doing a, Roughnecks thesis. So it's cool. I enjoy it. So first of all, thank you for coming on to the show. I'm so excited. We've been talking since you got signed. It seems all the Roughnecks players kind of find me eventually because I probably blow your notifications up. So I love that. I love that you guys have embraced it. And let's get into it. I like to start from the beginning. Way back when you were a little youngster in Gaffney, South Carolina, what made you initially fall in love with the game of football? Like, how old were you? Was there a moment where you thought, wow, I want to do this for the rest of my life? Or was it kind of a gradual thing where as you got better, you realized, oh, this is something I can do?
I'd say a mix of all of it. So my dad, I'm 23. He's been coaching for 25 years. So I was born around football, around basketball, because he's been coaching it my entire life. So I'd say it's a mix of all of it because I started out playing. I actually quit Little League football because that's a story for another time. But I quit Little League football and I got up into high school and I started getting better and better at it. And I was like, man, I think I can take this somewhere. So that's really what it was for me. So I got better at it, and I figured, why not? Let's do it.
So your dad coaches, does he coach at the high school level? Is he like a really intense Pee-wee coach? Like, what's he do?
It's crazy. So I'm from Gaffney, like you said, and I don't know if people probably don't know much about Gaffney. Gaffney is probably the top high school in South Carolina, like 18 or 19 state championships, 5A football. But so he was coaching in Gaffney up until I was a freshman in high school. And he decided to go coach in Blacksburg, a school with 500 kids, small town. And I have 2 older brothers, and we had the choice of go play at Gaffney High or go play at Blacksburg High. And me and one other brother, we decided to go play at Blacksburg. And that's really how that happened. So he's at the high school level, actually. When I first got into high school, he was coaching receivers at the time, I want to say. He was coaching receivers with the varsity football, and currently he has the girls varsity basketball team.
That's awesome. Girls sports in high school just seems super intense. I feel like each one could have their own like reality TV show, but I love it. So that's interesting that you chose to go to Blacksburg High School. I have that you played quarterback and you also played defense, I assume DB. And you chose to go to the school that has 500 students. Is that because you wanted to be a big fish in a smaller pond? Is it closer to home? It's what your older brothers did. I've seen that before. My best friend did that. He transferred high schools away from me and all of his other best friends just to be with his older brother. So that's a viable reason. So what was your reason to go to the smaller school?
I'd probably say just not many kids get the chance to play for their dad. He coached me in middle school, and he had the opportunity to coach me in high school. So I figured, why not? I can go play under my dad from middle school all the way up until graduating high school and play with my older brother. So I think that was the biggest motivation for me, and just having a fresh start, and I was sort of challenged by the theory that it's hard to be a college football player from a small school. It's like I said, I think I might have been the third D1 kid ever from Blacksburg High. So
Really?
yeah, I took that as a little challenge myself. So
Well, that's a great challenge. I assume your older brother, Kobe, was another one of the students or another one of the D1 athletes that you're talking about.
well, Kobe stayed in Gaffney actually. I'm the youngest brother and Kobe's the oldest. So the
Okay.
middle brother is the one that went with me over there.
Okay. All right. And so you were a 3-star recruit out of high school. Like you told me before the show that you played both ways, and you said that your best game was, let's talk about it, because that stat is actually really cool and I enjoy it.
Yeah, so I was playing quarterback, and most people assumed that I was a run first guy, and I always took pride in, sort of chilling in the pocket, trying to slice up defenses. So I had this game where I went 13 for 14 passing for 212, and I think I had 123 rushing yards, and I caught 2 interceptions on defense. So I had more interceptions on defense than I had incompletions at quarterback. So that's probably my favorite game.
That is a bonkers stat. I remember back in high school when I was junior varsity. I remember one of the varsity receivers. He had caught tons of touchdowns during the season, and he got a chance to do an end around pass, and he threw a touchdown. And he said that throwing a touchdown felt 100 times better than catching one. So I absolutely understand, just from
sure.
seeing people do it, that you enjoyed staying in the pocket and dissecting the defense, not just going out and using your athletic ability to just
Yeah.
show them who's boss. You were like, let me do it with my head too. I enjoy that. So I saw that you were committed at one point to South Carolina. There's a couple articles online that say that, but you ended up going to Indiana. So what happened there?
Okay, so out of high school, I was offered. I think I had a little under 20 offers, and I committed to Indiana. I signed with Indiana out of high school,
Okay.
and I was 17 at the time, so I was a young guy. But I signed with Indiana, and I get on campus in June, and I'm there for June, July, August, and I get into camp, and I just finally break. I'm 17 years old, 8.5 hours from home, and I'm homesick. And it hit me that, I'm in this big town around nobody that I've ever met before. So I decided to I didn't have a plan in my head of where I was going, but I just wanted to be closer to home. I knew that. And South Carolina is about a little under 2 hours from me. So I leave Indiana. A lot of people don't know that I left Indiana, and about a week later, Coastal offered me when I was in high school too. So Coastal Carolina is about 4 hours from me. It's at the beach. And I actually had a former high school teammate who was at Coastal. And I went down to Coastal. They re-offered me again. And I was at Coastal for literally like 3 hours. And I get on campus, and I'm like, man, it just don't feel right. I'm not close to my people. So I hop in the car, drive back home. I didn't even tell my parents. And I show back up, and they're heated at me. They're not happy. And so Muschamp was the guy at Carolina at that time. And I reach out to Muschamp. We talk a little bit, and they tell me that I can get on the team, but I was under the assumption that it would have been as a scholarship guy instead of a walk-on. And so before I clarified that, I posted publicly that I was coming to South Carolina. And
Okay.
yeah, it wasn't until after that till he was like, "It's going to be a walk-on spot." So after that, I was like, "Nah, man, let me step back and gather my thoughts." So that's where the South Carolina little
So
piece.
people kind of jumped the gun on your social media posts. They were
Yeah,
like, oh, Carolina, like
yeah.
one of the best athletes from Blacksburg High School is going to South Carolina. They were all really excited, and I understand that. But you ended up going, so you went from Indiana to Coastal Carolina to South Carolina, and then you ended up at Gardner Webb, where your older brother, Kobe, who we had mentioned earlier, was already playing. So
Right.
you got to go, over there with him. But I believe you only spent a year there before
Yeah.
you transferred to Clemson?
Yeah. I spent my freshman year at Gardner Webb with my older brother. Yeah.
Man, so all this happened before, like, you finished your freshman year.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's a lot of movement.
Yeah.
That's a lot of moving for a freshman in college. That's just
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. It was.
So so what was it like at Gardner Webb, and then what led to you moving on to Clemson?
I mean, Gardner Webb was a learning stop for me. Small town, one stoplight town. I think they're a FCS school. I think they're D1 FCS, but it was, like I said, it was a learning experience for me. It didn't yield the football results that I hoped for it to, but like I said, I learned from it at the end of the day, and didn't see eye to eye with, I guess, the plans that staff at the time had for me. So I decided to leave at that point after the season too. So I did my freshman year at Gardner Webb and decided, Gardner Webb wasn't for me. So I decided I was going to leave Gardner Webb. I had no plan of where I'd go if I get picked up anywhere, but I knew I didn't want to be there. So, yeah.
Gotcha. So then you went on, you go to Clemson, which is a big jump going from Gardner Webb to Clemson, one of the premier football colleges in America. You went over there and you had to walk on there. What was the difference that at Clemson you were willing to be a walk on and earn your spot onto the team, where at South Carolina they were like, "Can you walk on?" Was it just the fact that Clemson is one closer to home, or was it that it's just such a good football school? What was the reason that was that was the plan then?
I'll probably say I might get some hate for some South Carolina people, but I figured if I'm gonna walk on, why not walk on at one of the best programs in America? Like you said, like and I tell kids now, if you're gonna walk on, why not do it all out? Like don't have to do it. I'm gonna walk on, go walk on at for one of the best head coaches in that I think in the history of college football, Coach Sweeney. So I figured why not go be a part of that.
We'll see if he stays at Clemson. Now, the Nick Saban news dropped yesterday. We'll see if he takes that spot. But we're here to talk about you, not them. So, you went. You were a preferred a walk on, and I'm not sure when this photo was taken, but I think this photo is great because you're wearing Everlast boxing gloves. And I was wondering, is this during the walk on period? Is this after you've made the team? It's just what's going on in this photo? What's up with the boxing gloves in football?
So we this was actually during camp, and
Okay.
every practice, our win we had a walkthrough on Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday was full throttle, best on best, good on good, compete. So this is a Wednesday practice. Tuesday was full pads. Wednesday was shells, I think. And Tuesdays and Wednesdays we have one-on-one periods, and we get after each other. And our DB coach, Coach Reed, he had us in the gloves. So that's what that is right there. That's what that picture is.
That is awesome. I just thought that picture was really funny. It's just people don't expect to see boxing gloves. I assumed it was something like, just getting to wail on them without actually going full contact. But I think that's great. So you went there. You said in an interview that assistant coach Nick Eason was a mentor to you. And I was wondering, did that continue all the way through Clemson? Is he still a mentor now that you're moving into the professional space? What impact did he have on you in your time at Clemson?
He actually got there my second year at Clemson. I spent 2 years at Clemson, and I just say he was a guy that he was open, he was approachable, and he was real. He was a real guy that I felt like, I guess, understood my situation at the current moment, and he was just always in my ear, encouraging me to keep going. Being a older guy in the locker room, and having to watch true freshmen come in, play in front of me, and just the mental side of having to accept where I am and decide where can I go from there. And the maturity and just all of it. He was big on that for me.
That's great. I love when, football coaches have a reputation of being just kind of brutal, brash, and hardened. So when you hear about one that really does take care of the person and the player, I love hearing that, and I love to highlight it. It's good. My brother and I were just talking about how we had, coaches back in middle school and high school that were just mean for the sake of being mean.
Yeah.
And I enjoy hearing about coaches who care about coaching and care about coaching you not just in the game but in life. So I wanted to highlight that for a second, but now I want to go on to another funny thing that I found. So Clemson is not a school that is known for NIL. Dabo Sweeney has been taking a lot of heat because he doesn't embrace NIL. He doesn't embrace transfers. You have to come and earn your spot, walk on like you did, and I thought it was cool that you found a way to make sure that you still found some kind of sponsor in Nesquik. And I wanted to just know what's up with that. And that's sick. And, can I get some?
Playing for it, I like milk. I like milk. Like I'm a big strawberry milk guy. So I reached out to Nesquik and boom, it just happened.
They just made you like a brand ambassador for Nesquik.
Yeah, it was that simple.
That's so cool.
I reached out to him and was like, man, if
I
possible,
really like your product.
yeah, man, I would love to promote Nesquik, man, because I love strawberry milk. So
that is awesome. I just thought it was fun that, Clemson is not known for NIL, not, players being in commercials and stuff like that. So I thought it was funny that one of your it's like your third post on Instagram is you just holding up Nesquik, and then you propped it and it's like Nesquik with a football. It was awesome. I was like, that's great. That's awesome. That's where Clemson needs to be moving, right? So, but at Clemson, you didn't get a lot of play time on the field. Like people didn't see you on TV a lot because of, this or that, the politics of football and all that. But you found a way to get into the professional space. And we had kind of talked about it before where Lionel Vitale had come and talked, and you listened to his motivational speaking that he does. I've watched a couple of them, when he got hired. I watched some of his motivational speaking. He got me hyped up. And you spoke to him and kind of explain the story of how you were able to go from not really getting playing time to Clemson to being a Houston Roughneck.
So it's very crazy. So my senior year, like you said, I'm a senior on the roster, no playing time, and he comes and speaks to our draft eligible players that year. So this is November of 2022. He comes and speaks to our draft eligible players, and there's some juniors in the room, and then there's seniors in the room who want a shot at the next level. And he's just telling us about the draft process, the ins and out of the pre-draft process. And after the meeting, I obviously went to the meeting because I had hopes of playing at the next level. And after the meeting, there was a gap between his meeting and our team meeting. So I went up to him, introduced myself, tell him about my situation, how I wasn't getting much playing time, but I had hopes of playing at the next level. And he looks me up and down. He was telling me he likes my size as a corner. And so we exchanged numbers, and that was it. We don't talk again until September of 2023. And so at that time, he told us in that first meeting that he was a retired NFL executive. He's out of the game, and he's just coming to drop some knowledge on us. So September 2023, I reach out to him, and I decided, if I'm not going to have any game film, why not have practice film? So I decided, I think I'm at one of the best schools in the country. Let's go up against the ones in offense, doing one-on-ones and things like that. So I put together a practice film highlight, and so I sent it to Lionel. I text Lionel, and I'm like, uh, "You've been at the professional level. Would you mind taking a look at this and just tell me? Be honest with me. Do you think this is good enough to be at the pro level? Like whether it's NFL practice squad, CFL, whatever. Like, tell me, be honest with me." And he looks at it, and and tells me that before he looked at it, he tells me um, he's gonna be completely honest with me and tell me that if it's terrible, he's gonna tell me to go find a job.
Ooh,
He told me that if it's not good enough in his eyes, he's just gonna tell me give up, go find a real job.
you gotta
So I'm like,
appreciate that kind of honesty, though.
yeah, I was like, I appreciate the honesty, a little harsh, but I told him I appreciate it. So he likes it and tells me he says he's gonna see what he can do. I didn't know what that meant. He just said he was gonna see what he can do. So later in the day, he calls me. I'm working out at like 11, 12 o'clock at night. He calls me around 11:40, and out of the blue, he's like, "We're going to offer you a contract." And I paused for like 10 seconds, and I'm thinking in my head, "Who is we?" Because he never mentioned,
What?
like he never mentioned anything. So
You're like, I'm gonna go motivational speak with you, or what's gonna happen?
yeah, so he's like, "We're going to offer you a contract," and I was like, "Are you for real?" And I'm still thinking in the back of my head, like, "Who is we?" And he tells me the DB coach loved my film, and the head coach loved it. And then he tells me that he took the GM role with the then Gamblers. But it was crazy, man. It was probably the craziest night of my life, for sure.
That is a ridiculous story. And for those wondering, I do have the film right here. So let's play that while we talk a little bit, if it plays. Here we go. You said that Brett Maxey, the DB coach at that of the then Houston Gamblers, he loved the fact that you were reading the zones and you were processing route combinations and things like that. You know, how long of a span is this practice film that you put together? Is it like a well, it's not working that well right now, but at least we got to see your one-handed catch. But how long was this? Was this just like, oh, this is my spring camp? Is it, this is my best throughout college? What did you put together?
That's actually so I didn't get the idea of coming up with a practice highlight up until I think after the season. So and then there wasn't a way for me to go, I guess, pinpoint plays that I was in. So that was me my last year finding whatever I could get my hands on from my last year. So
There you go. So it was fresh stuff. Heck yeah.
yeah, so I knew that where that one-handed catch was at, and I knew where that was at. So I went right there.
Oh, heck yeah.
First. Yeah. So
Oh man, I had one-handed interception in high school, and I can always find it within 3 minutes of somebody asking me. So I absolutely know what you're talking about. But the thing that I enjoy the most about your story, about taking your practice film and sending it to Lionel, just saying, "Let me know if you think that I should keep pursuing this or if I should move on from my dream." And he had just taken the job in the then USFL, now UFL. And the whole point of this league is supposed to be the league of second chances, the league of people who didn't get a fair shake, didn't get, their shot, whether it be COVID stopped them from having a pro day. There were so many players that had
yeah,
that story, whether it be they were at a smaller school and didn't get looks from NFL scouts, whether it be they didn't get enough playtime in college. The fact that he came in, he became a GM, you were one of the first signings, and it felt like he immediately embraced the essence of the league, the
yeah,
entire point of the people like me who love spring football. That's why I'm so drawn to your story and think it's so crazy that you just put it out there. I would never have thought to send a video to Lionel Vitale and say, just let me know if you think that I'm even worth it.
yeah.
And look at you now, dude. now you have jersey swaps and graphics, and you're a professional football player. Isn't that cool? Training camp starts next month? January, February, March?
Next month.
2 months. That's crazy.
It's crazy, man. It's funny because I used to around that time I wouldn't go to bed until 2 or 3 in the morning, like scrolling through my contacts all night long, thinking like, who can I talk to make this connection? Because I'm a guy with, like you said, I don't have any game film. I have no agent, and I'm just sitting there every night trying to think of a way, trying to find a way to just get my foot in the door. So, and I'm blessed, man, to be able to be in the spot I'm in. So,
having no agent is crazy. Do you still have no agent?
Still have no agent.
That's what's up. You're like Lamar Jackson, where he's like, my mom's my agent. You can call her.
Yeah, man.
That's so cool. You're like, I'll handle it. You're like, send me the contract. I'll read through it. You know, I love it. I would probably just have my dad. I'd be like, can you read this for me and let me know if I'm getting screwed? But I absolutely love that. So your story is a true underdog story. And I enjoy that you embrace that. And I asked you, because I wanted to do a jersey swap because you and I had been chatting, and I was like, I like this guy. He's talked to me. That's more than some players will give me. Let's see if I can give him something back. So I made a jersey swap of you, and I asked you what number you were going to try and be for the Gamblers, then Gamblers, now Houston Roughnecks. And you said you wanted to keep 35 because at Clemson you had 35, and there was a good meaning behind that. And I thought it would be cool to bring this up and you explain it. Why do you want to be number 35?
Like we've talked about, like I've been through a ton of chapters and growing pains in my life. And I think that, I got to what I thought was going to be my final chapter at Clemson. And I finished my Clemson career wearing number 35. And, I just, like I said, I watched a lot of stuff that I experienced a lot of stuff that I believe most guys in my shoes would have quit, gave up. And I'm a guy from a school with 500 kids, walk on, no game film, no agent, and all the odds against me, So a lot of people wouldn't expect me to be here, probably still don't believe that it's real for me, But I wanted to keep 35. I hope I get to keep 35 just to keep that chip on my shoulder in a way and remind myself that I belong, like God makes no mistakes. And I feel like the number 35 just, it keeps a constant reminder in my mind of what I've been through, what I came from. So.
Yes, sir. And at this point, you have finally gotten to the point where your entire future in football rests in your hands, which is probably a little scary, a little anxiety inducing, but it literally is. You get to go to training camp, you get to put forth your best foot and say, this is what I got, and ball out, man, and earn that number 35, which is not a super popular number amongst defensive backs. So I'm pretty sure you should be able to get it. Last year, I know they went by age. So the older players got to pick their numbers first. I don't know if they're doing that this year, but you are a pretty young guy. So
we'll see. Yeah, good luck to me, Hannah.
Yes, sir. So I absolutely love that you are the embodiment of what this league is about, man. It's so cool. Elijah Rodgers, the comeback story. Someday there's going to be a movie, and hopefully there's a scene where you get interviewed by some dude who interviews people in his office in his house in Texas. So that would be awesome. But speaking of movies, let's talk about I have a segment that I like to do at the end of my shows, once we kind of get through your story, where I do a rapid incoming breakdown. I ask you a couple questions. You just answer the first thing off the top of your head, just so that people can kind of get to know you as a person a little bit more than just you as a football player. So that sounds cool? All right. So speaking about movies, if there was an Elijah Rodgers movie, a biopic, the one where they cast Chris Pine to be Ace, who interviews you in the movie. Who plays you in the movie? What actor plays Elijah Rodgers?
What actor? Yes, Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart. That is so difficult. Man, Lionel likes your size for a corner, and then you picked a guy who lacks the size to do anything but act. But that's cool. All right. I'm about that same height, so it's all good. Actually, no, I'm 5'7". I think he's like 5'5" or 5'4". But interesting. Most dudes are like Michael B. Jordan, Denzel Washington,
See,
and you said Kevin
I'm
Hart. So
thinking
you
off
must
the
be
top
a
of the head,
funny
man.
dude.
Yeah, I like to
You must,
laugh. That's what I
you're a
do.
funny dude. All
Yeah.
right. I dig it. Okay. Who is your favorite superhero and why?
Ooh. Favorite
Like
superhero.
like a comic book hero.
Um, I'm gonna go classic Superman. Just because he's
Love it.
Superman. You know, Superman does what Superman does. I'm gonna go with Superman.
Heck yeah. All right. What is your go-to workout song right now?
Right now,
Yes, sir.
I wouldn't say a specific song. I have different playlists based on where I am mentally at the moment. And today I worked out and I turn on some Luke Combs. So it depends. It depends for me. So,
I figured it was going to be country because you have literally quoted the Zach Brown band at me. So
yeah, bro. Yeah,
I was like, I would bet dollars to donuts that it's going to be something country.
yeah, man. I love me
All
some
right.
country music, man.
All right. All right. And last question. Who is your biggest inspiration in life that is not an athlete?
That is not an athlete. I would say my parents, if I can use both of them, just
Yeah.
because there was times a lot of people I didn't mention in my story earlier, but after my freshman year, I sat out of school completely in what would have been my sophomore year. So I ended up getting a job, you know, being out of school completely, being out of football, and you know, the ring doorbell. I would. Um, there was times, a lot of times, a lot of mornings where you know my mom and dad are still waking up, punching the clock, and a lot of mornings I would get up and just turn on the ring doorbell on my phone and just watch them pull out of the driveway. And I know they're tired. They've been working, working, and working, no break. And it just motivated me to keep going. And I was at a point being out of school and out of football where I could have gave up, rolled over, made all the excuses in the world. And I had the biggest two reasons why not to quit. You know, turn on my ring doorbell and I see mom and dad pulling out of driveway at 6 o'clock in the morning when it's still dark. You know, so that was a big motivation point for me. They probably don't know that, but I wake up just to watch them leave because it was always a motivation thing for me to make sure that one day they don't have to do that anymore. And I take it personal for me, I guess, to try to make sure I can change it if possible. So
Well, that is one of the most beautiful things I've heard on this show. And I hope that your parents get to watch it and hear all of that. I love that. As a guy who's a mama's boy, who, my biggest competitor in life is my dad. I love that. I love when people lead by example and when parents raise their kids, not just by, the way that they're teaching them, but the way that they're showing themselves in front of their children. So that is an awesome answer. You have great answers. This has been fantastic. And at this point, we have now reached the end of the show, which is when we reach the end zone. And when we reach the end zone, I hand the microphone over to you. And I give the floor to you because we do this show to promote the league, to promote the Roughnecks, but most importantly, to promote you as a player. So if you have a shout out, if you have a brand that you're repping, if you want to call out Nesquik and say, send you more strawberry milk, if you have a message to Roughnecks fans, this is your time. Take the floor, Elijah.
I guess I'll shout out one of my best friends, Marcus Meese. He does videography. He's been to the NBA draft. He's done bowl games. He's been all over the place, and he's a hardworking dude who came up with this idea one day that he wanted to pick up a camera and see where it took him. And it's like I said, he's taking him all across the country. So I want to say shout out to him, proud of him. And he's
Shout
doing
out
good.
Marcus. Made the list.
Yeah, man. His name's Mark Visions, like I said. But my sibling, my older brothers, Kobe, Jordan, wouldn't be where I am without them. And you said a message to Roughneck fans, man. You're gonna get a hard worker. I don't. I think a lot of guys play the game with pressure, and I've been at a point where I've been without the ball. You know, so I don't. it's a game, you know. It's a child's game that we're getting paid to play. So I don't try not to overthink it and make it too big, you know. I just want to show up, have fun, and work hard, man. So that's the type of guy you're gonna get from me.
Well, I don't know about the other Roughnecks fans, but I know that this Roughneck fan is incredibly excited to see how hard you're going to work and watch you ball out. You know, bring in that Clemson flair out to Arlington, where you're going to practice, but you will then get to play in front of actual Houston fans, which is something that USFL fans have not seen yet. But XFL fans have. We're all very excited. Elijah, thank you so much for coming on, man. This has been a long time coming, and I'm happy that I finally got you on the show. We finally get your story out there, you know, from transfer to walk on to not playing to getting a professional shot just because you bet on yourself. That is what this league is all about. That's what you're all about, and it's a perfect fit, and I'm so excited that we got to talk to you.
Oh, yeah, man. I appreciate you having me on here, man.
Heck yeah. All right. So for Roughnecks fans, this has been Roughnecks Rundown. Episode 14, interview with Elijah Rodgers, Clemson alum. He has stayed up late. He annoyed his girlfriend to be on the show, and I absolutely am appreciative of that. So, everybody, have a good time and rough them up.
I'm in the big leagues. Told them don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston. Hey, feeling like Whitney. I need a bag.